Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, a short time does not mean you can go on a cruise. My mother is upset that I wanted my wedding to be about me and my husband. Should I let my sister back in? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. A short time does not mean you can go on a cruise. It was about 10 years ago when I was married to my second and last wife, now ex-wife. I am a chef and she worked retail. We weren't rich, but we were doing well for ourselves. We each owned our own cars, shared all the money equally because it didn't matter who made more than the other. We were married, so everything was equal. She wanted to take some classes, and instead of working her retail job, she would babysit for extra income, and I was all for it. If that's what made her happy, go for it. After she got settled with her classes, we put out ads for her babysitting side job. I know what she was offering for the price she was asking was much lower than daycares by a lot, but she wasn't in it for the money. She just loves kids. She took on 3 kids, 4 years old to an 8-year-old. The other was 5, if I remember correct. All the kids were good, and we had a large fenced-in backyard they could play in with lots of kids' toys, and snacks were provided. Most of the parents were friendly and came in to pick up or drop off their kids. One mother, though, would come in and just say, "See you later," to her little girl, the 5-year-old, and walk away.
No kiss.
No, I love you. Nothing. My ex took in kids from 2:30 p.m. when the younger kids would get out of their respective schools, kindergarten or preschool, not sure what it was called. Then from 3 p.m. on for the older girl. Things seemed to be going well, and my ex was happy. Then one Monday morning, not afternoon like the schedule said, the entitled mother drops her daughter off. My ex was in classes, so she was lucky it was my day off. I said I would watch her until my ex was done, then she will take over. She just shrugged like it was nothing and set a duffel bag just inside the door. I had never been part of this except to talk to the kids and entertain them now and then, so I didn't know the drop-off/pick-up procedures. Then, like always, the mother just turned and walked away. When my ex got out of her classes and saw the girl, she asked where her mom or dad was. She said, "Mommy is going away for a few days." She said, "I am staying here with you." Immediately, my ex started calling the girl's mother only for it to go straight to voicemail. She had a listing for another number listed as Dad. It went to voicemail as well. So my ex watched all 3 kids like usual, and the parents of the other 2 kids came on time and left. This little girl usually got picked up at 6:30 p.m., but not that day. That time came and went. Then 8:30. Then it was close to 10 p.m. The entire time my ex was calling these numbers with the same results. Nothing but voicemail. By this time, the little girl had fallen asleep, and we put her in the spare room. The ex called the police to let them know what is going on, but said we will keep her with us for now until we reach the mother. After many tries to both numbers with no better results, I went on to Facebook and found this woman's profile. I was going to look for a family member or a contact we could call. As soon as the home page came up, my jaw hit the floor. There was a picture of them on a cruise ship deck as it was leaving port. I called in my ex to see, and she was as flabbergasted as I was. Going through her friends list, I saw her mother. I contacted her to let her know what was happening, and someone had to come pick this girl up. We didn't sign up for that. Her mother told us she would be there as soon as she could. After close to 2 hours, the grandmother showed up to collect the little girl. But she wasn't alone. She brought the little girl's father. By the way, the girl squealed out, "Daddy!" then ran and hugged him. I knew it had been a while since they saw each other. We invited them in for coffee, and the grandmother told us the story. From what she told us, her daughter had taken her daughter and ran off with some rich guy and didn't tell anyone where she was. The guy on the cruise with her was the man she was cheating with and not her husband. The father had called the police from our place and had them come there for proof of abandonment by the mother. I showed the officer the Facebook photo dated just the night before. He got the father and grandmother to go with him to the police station to fill out the paperwork, but took our statements at our house. We signed them and they were gone. We never heard from the mother for the next 3 weeks and thought it was odd she wouldn't call to go nuclear on us. Then a couple of days later, we had an excited banging on the door. When I opened it, I saw the father beaming with joy, holding his daughter's hand. I invited them in, and he filled us in on the juicy details. She made big money and he was a stay-at-home dad. In the last year, she had been distancing herself from him. When he confronted her, she said he was delusional. Later on, he drove to the store to pick up some odds and ends, but when he got home, she and his daughter were gone. All there was a note saying goodbye, and he will never see either of them again, and the police seemed useless. She started an affair while they were still together. Around the same time, she started acting different, but he didn't clue in. After she ran off, he took the note to her mother, who did everything she could to help, but her daughter was ignoring her too. She even hired someone to find her. It was just by chance we found them, and they couldn't believe their luck. The father said the mother got some major and some minor charges. 1. Child abduction. 2. Child endangerment. 3. Child abandonment. 4. Possession of a controlled substance. 5. Resisting arrest. 6. Vehicle theft. I guess she rented a car at one airport and never left the keys with it, nor told anyone where she parked it because she wasn't answering her calls or texts. The reason for this? They left the phones home so they wouldn't get bothered on the trip. I don't remember all the charges, and I may have gotten one or more of those ones wrong too. But the father said he now has 100% custody of his daughter. The mother got in the area of 16 years in total. She was also ordered by the court to have zero contact indefinitely, or until she finishes her jail time and extensive therapy. The father was also awarded the house and all assets because he didn't have an income or way to support his daughter. The company the mother worked for also cashed out all stocks, or whatever they were, and gave the money to them as well, even though they were not responsible for doing that, just helping out. The other man she went on the cruise with owned a smallish company with his wife. When this all came out, she started proceedings for a divorce, and since the company was started by her family and he didn't buy into it, it all went to her. She was also taking him to court for more things too. In the end, he had nothing and she had it all. He wasn't charged with any of the wrongdoings because he wasn't there to drop the little girl off. My ex was sad to be losing such a sweet little girl, but they stayed in contact. As far as I know, they are still in contact. The dad got a job with the kitchen I work in as a server. I didn't get him the job. He did that all himself. I only put in a good word with my boss. I am long gone from that place, but he is now a co-owner now and still goes in every day and serves tables. All tips he normally would make he gives to the busboys/girls and hosts/hostesses because they are part-time high school kids who wouldn't get tips. I hope her cruise was worth it. Wow. Where to start on this one? I thought from your title you were gonna have agreed to take her for a few days, but for her to have just left her, madness. Glad the little girl was safe, and that you guys got an update on how they were getting on. No matter how many times I read about irresponsible parents dropping their kids off at homes with no warning/info about times, I'm always surprised they think it will work out or be a good idea in the first place. Oh, I wish I had an award to give you. This is such an amazing story with a feel-good ending. But the father said he now has 100% custody of his daughter. The mother got in the area of 16 years in total. It seems incredibly unlikely that either of these things would be finalized within 3 weeks of the abandonment. The part about posting to Facebook from the boat, while the phones are at home, caught my eye. My mother is upset that I wanted my wedding to be about me and my husband. I, 33F, just married my husband, 33M, this past Saturday. I planned our wedding over the past 13 months. I did hire a day of event coordinator, but I did the majority of the work. I wanted simple elegance and I found a church and a reception hall that didn't need a lot of decor added. My husband and I also decided to keep our wedding fairly small, around 100 people or so. I should mention, my parents gave me a decent lump sum of cash, not overly crazy or small, to spend on my wedding as I see fit, but anything outside that cost I needed to pay for with my husband. The money essentially covered the reception costs, besides decor and entertainment and cake. From the beginning, my mother wanted to invite a ton of her friends. I told her that simply wasn't possible due to the size of the venue we booked, but it never stopped her from asking every couple of weeks to see if we could add more people. Friends, she insisted, had prayed so hard for me to find someone to marry. I only conceded for a few couples I have actually known since I was a teenager or younger. One couple I actually speak to on a semi-regular basis. The real trouble started when I informed my mother that the tables the venue provided only seated 8. She wanted all her friends sitting at the same table. She insisted for her, my father, my sister, her brother-in-law, my grandparents, and 3 of their couple friends needed to all sit together, claiming she didn't want anyone feeling snubbed about not being at the right table. I warned her months ago when I took her on a tour of my reception venue that this was not possible, and she started getting frustrated and asking for larger tables or different tables to try and fit a large amount of people at one table. The venue could not do larger tables. At the time, I hadn't even sent out invitations, and I kept telling her that it wasn't the place or time to freak out about sitting arrangements. During this same tour, she started inquiring about all these extra decor items she wanted to add that we didn't really want/need for our day. The venue has this beautiful bricked patio with trees and lights and a fire pit. It was just extra work I knew that was going to be reliant on me/my coordinator to follow through on, since my mother often suffers from headaches, etc., and I knew she was going to be busy with her sister and brother-in-law/any other family members. When I expressed my concerns and mentioned that invitations were not sent and that I didn't want all the extra decor, I received a very stern and angry remark. "This isn't just about you, OP. This is a reflection on me and your father." Over the next several months, my mother insisted on several unnecessary DIY decor for the outdoors. My husband and I purchased a cutting cake/cupcake package and planned for one of the cupcake flavors to match our cutting cake, and my mother insisted on wanting to get a slice of cake even though I expressed my dislike of the idea. And both of my parents insisted on all their friends at their table, and I told them I would do my best to sit everyone they wanted to talk to close their table. However, that wasn't good enough, and I had to just make it happen. I didn't make it happen. I sat people close together and I informed them as such. Wedding week arrived, and of course, I ended up having to fix up the extra decor last minute. In addition day, or my wedding, I found out at dinner my parents moved their friends to their table despite sitting literally right next to them at an adjacent table. And today my husband and I discovered a quarter of our cutting cake gone. We only took one slice to share between us at the reception. What are you going to do about it? Well, nothing can be done about the past, but I have already discussed with my husband about how I don't want any parents involved in planning of any other life events. They don't get a say. They can participate when we say they can. I'm so worried about events for any future children we may or may not have. For example, I've already expressed it's just going to be us at the hospital unless I change my mind for any reason. Wow, that's just crazy. This sounds like the type of parent that already has your baby names picked. Should I let my sister back in? Long story short, my relationship with my sister has been lacking over the years. We were very close until she decided not to my wedding for no good reason. She was always cold to my new wife. I assume out of jealousy, as she told me she didn't want to lose her brother. About 19 years ago, she manipulated my parents into giving her a large amount of money for her house without thinking about the consequences for me. I had to live at home for 10 years to save not even a fraction of what she was given. So there has always been differences in how she has been treated versus me. I've since moved on and had kids who she has never bothered to visit, ask about, send cards to on birthdays, etc. Now my parents are elderly and frail. She is getting them to guilt me into reaching out to her to rekindle our relationship because she's lonely. I think they are basically worried when they aren't around she won't have any family and she's very needy emotionally, so want me to pick up the role from them as her support. Do I let my sister back and just to make my parents happy? They never seem to try to understand my reasons or consider my wife or children in this, just their own point of view. But I also don't want to be painted as a villain in my own family. If you don't want contact to your sister, you are not obligated to have it. Your sister's loneliness might stem from her behaving towards others as she behaved towards you. Don't let your parents pressure you into letting your sister back in your life if you don't want to. Exactly. She's lonely because she's not a nice person and treats people badly. Family often feel obliged to put up with that nonsense. Other people not so much. Do not set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. She'll just take advantage of the situation, and her takeaway will be that she can treat Opie any way she likes. Tell them it will cost them what they gave to your sister. Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone warm. I know it hurts, but decades of nastiness from a sibling isn't something that can or should just be forgotten. Your parents' favoritism doesn't help this either. I think you should be upfront about why you don't like your sister, how it's her choice she isn't in your life or your kid's life, and tell your parents that them giving her help they did not give you hasn't helped either. If you don't sort this out with your parents, it will fester. They need to take responsibility for their favoritism and also accept that your terrible relationship with your sister is her fault. Your sister isn't someone you can trust, nor is she someone you want around your kids. There's a villain in this story, and it isn't you. Your parents have enabled her neediness her whole life, and now they're expecting you to do so too. What she actually needs is some tough love to mature emotionally. She has to learn that she can't use other people as a crutch for the rest of her life. She's an adult. She needs to figure it out on her own. Your wife, kids, and mental health come first. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.